Hey everyone, I'm JR, and this is one of Mike's mini history lessons. Train robberies, horse thievery, cattle rustling, shootouts, cold-blooded murder. The most notorious outlaws of the Wild West have long been romanticized as daring robbers and cold-blooded killers since their stories first hit early American tabloids. But in many ways, their narratives have been shaped in dime store novels, TV shows, and Hollywood films to fit the frontier ideals of rugged individualism and the pioneering spirit. Americans love an underdog, a person who stands up against perceived tyranny, wrote Bill Markley in his book Billy the Kid and Jesse James, Outlaws of the Legendary West. Jesse James and Billy the Kid personify that rebellious spirit. Americans overlook the crimes and see the romance of the rebel. Jesse James was born in Clay County, Missouri in 1847 and grew up as part of a Confederacy-supporting, slave-owning family. As a teen in 1864, James and his brother Frank joined a guerrilla unit responsible for murdering dozens of Union soldiers. For some historians, James never stopped fighting the Civil War, translating his fury over the defeat of the secessionist cause into a career sticking up banks, trains, and stagecoaches. At times, he saw himself as a modern-day Robin Hood, robbing from the politically progressive, Reconstruction supporters, and giving to the poor. According to the State Historical Society of Missouri, the James Younger Gang operated widely, from Iowa to Texas to West Virginia. Overall, between 1860 and 1882, they're believed to have committed more than 20 bank and train robberies, with a combined haul estimated at around $200,000. Which today would come out to roughly $5,847,174.73. While they usually focused more on train safes than individual passengers, they did ruthlessly murder countless people who got in their way. As newspapers began to mention James, his love for the attention grew. He was audacious, planning and robbing banks in the middle of the day and stopping the most powerful machines of the time, railroad engines, to rob their trains and successfully get away, wrote Bill Markley. The James legend grew with the help of newspaper editor John Newman Edwards, a Confederate sympathizer who perpetuated James' Robin Hood mythology. "We're not thieves, we're bold robbers," James wrote in a letter Edwards published. "I'm proud of the name, for Alexander the Great was a bold robber, and Julius Caesar, and Napoleon Bonaparte." But while he did steal from the rich, there's no evidence that James ever actually gave to the poor. In 1881, the governor of Missouri issued a $10,000 reward for the capture of Jesse and Frank James. On April 3, 1882, at the age of 34, James was shot and killed by one of his accomplices, Robert Ford, who was found guilty of murder, but pardoned by the governor. Legends say that Wild West outlaw Billy the Kid, a cattle rustler, gunslinger, murderer, and escape artist, killed 21 people before he turned 21 years old, his age at death. The reality may be closer to 9, but the early days of Henry McCarty, later known as William Bonney, the Kid, are murky. Billy the Kid was likely born in New York City in 1859, later moving to Indiana, Kansas, and Denver before his family finally settled in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Orphaned as a teen after his mother died of tuberculosis, Henry was separated from his brother and placed in foster homes. It wasn't long before he fell into petty theft. After a September 1875 arrest for stealing clothing from a Chinese laundry, Henry reportedly shimmied up the jailhouse chimney and escaped, ultimately making his way to southeast Arizona. In 1876, he took up with an Arizona gang known for stealing horses. In 1877, after being charged with murdering a blacksmith, he fled home to New Mexico and joined another band of thieves. In 1878, he joined a posse called the Regulators, set on revenge for a cattleman's murder in what came to be called the Lincoln County War. By 1880, his name was well spread across tabloid newspapers. Billy became the symbol of the American loner, the little guy fighting against all odds, the misunderstood youth who battled the combined corrupt government and business forces hell-bent on his destruction, wrote Markley. Everyone wanted to be associated with Billy the Kid. He stayed at their ranch or he stole one of their horses. With a $500 reward on his head, the fugitive was gunned down by New Mexico Sheriff Pat Garrett on July 14th, 1881. Or at least that's the lesson you would get if Mike was your history teacher.